water spots, and bird droppings. How to remove them, how to do it safely. Hi, I'm Yvan Lacroix, and this is the Detailer's Business Academy, where we strive to take you from detailer to entrepreneur. Now, water spots and bird lime or bird droppings or it's a family channel, we won't say the word, are difficult things to remove, and sometimes, you can't do it. And there's a reason. It's called etching. Now, if we look at a bird dropping through a microscope, or actually the etching caused by a bird dropping through a microscope, and I'll insert a picture here, that etching that you see is quite deep. And what happens with that etching is, if we try to remove that etching, you're going to be damaging the paint. So you have to set an expectation for your customer that had they protected their vehicle with a good quality coating, they wouldn't have had that bird dropping etching. And if they ever do get another one, to wipe it off as soon as possible. Don't let it sit for a week on the car. Now, water spots are a completely different story. Water spots are unfortunately a side effect of having a coating. Because of all those lovely beads that we all love to see, they create water spots. Now, rain does not create water spots. If your customer says that it just rained on the car and I've got these water spots, be a little suspicious, because water spots are caused by the minerals in the water, and rain generally doesn't carry minerals. Now, there may have been a lot of minerals on the car, and that caused the water spots, but that being said, most of the time it comes from sprinklers. It comes from, I just hosed off the car, it didn't dry it. Yeah, that type of thing. And they always forget to tell you that the first time around. But nonetheless, the water spots. When we look at the water droplet that's sitting on the paint, so it's a nice big ball of water. Through capillary action, the minerals that are in the water are actually attracted to the outside edge. And that little water bubble actually creates like a magnifying glass and actually heats up. So what's happening is you've got a superheated piece of water that has minerals all around the outside. Now, when that water evaporates, what do we get? We're left with a ring of minerals. And depending on how long it was there and how intense the heat was, those minerals may have etched slightly into the paint. Now, if you're lucky, and if the car had a coating, they're just sitting on top of the coating. They're not actually etched in. But they need to be removed. Now, a lot of people think, I'll just wet sand and polish. If you're just wet sanding and polishing, you may not actually be removing all of the minerals and all of the etching. All you're doing is damaging the paint and making it look shiny. What you need to do is first use a proper water spot remover. Now, there's a lot of them available on the market. They're normally acid-based. We can go from a household item like CLR, which is lactic acid, to wheel acid, and anywhere in between. Now, using these products requires safety. Personal safety equipment, use it, please. And use all of it, not just a little bit. The other thing is you want to keep it away from sensitive things like rubbers, plastics, chrome. Actually, chrome isn't that sensitive, but the plastic chrome that we see on grills these days, it's a little more sensitive. So you want to keep it away from there and rinse it away properly. Now, once you've removed the minerals, you may still have etching. And then that's when you can start polishing. But if you try polishing without removing the minerals first, yes, they're going to go away. And in a few days, a week, maybe two, they'll be back. And you'll chastise your customer for putting it under the sprinkler again. And your customer will swear up and down that he drove it away from you, put it in his garage, and it's never seen the light of day since, but the spots are back. What happens is when you're polishing, you're creating heat. And heat actually drives those minerals deeper into the paint. We don't see them. They eventually surface again. And that's why a water spot, no matter how much you polish it, keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. It's because all you're doing is driving the minerals in and they're coming out. Driving the minerals in, they're coming back out. Now, some people use heat and a long, very long process to get rid of water spots. And that process is they heat the paint. They'll polish it. They'll let it cool. They'll heat it again. They'll polish it again. They'll let it cool. When all they had to do was use an acid-based water spot remover and then lightly polish the paint. Now, we have to manage the customer's expectation. And that customer's expectation is the water spots will be gone and they won't come back. Well, if you don't teach the customer how to wash their car properly and maintain it, the water spots will come back. And if they park beside a sprinkler, the water spots will come back. But the customer's expectations on, I want them all gone, may be unrealistic. And when you look at the thickness of paint, well, we look at the paint and the clear coat, the total thickness is about 100 microns. And roughly about 50% of that is the clear coat. Now, how much of that clear coat are you willing to remove? Well, if that etching is 20 microns deep and you get rid of all that etching, you're only left with 30 microns of clear coat. That's not enough to protect the car. If 30 microns of clear coat was enough to protect the paint, trust me, automotive manufacturers would only put 30 microns of clear coat on their cars. And if 20 microns was enough to protect, they'd only put 20 microns on. Paint is probably the most expensive part of the vehicle when it comes to building a vehicle. So if a manufacturer can save a few cents here and there, they will. One of the ways of doing that is reducing the amount of clear coat or paint on the vehicle. And we've seen it over the years that the paint thickness has decreased. But if 10, 20, or 30 microns of clear coat was enough to protect the car, that's all that would be on it. But no, they put about 50 microns for a reason. And you as a detailer should try to leave that 50 microns as much intact as possible. Now, bird etching is a completely different thing. Bird lime can etch deep into the paint. It's very caustic. And if left on the paint long enough, and if in the right conditions, humidity, etc., sun, it can actually go right down to the primer. And there's no way that you can polish that away. Now, another rarer thing, but it happens, is our friend the egg. Happens around Halloween sometimes. People throw eggs at cars for some reason. Well, again, if your car isn't protected by a good wax, PPF, or a coating, that egg is going to create a lot of damage. And if you look closely with a microscope, you'll see that that damage is sometimes down to the primer. Again, you as a detailer can't fix that. You can make it look better, but you can't make it go away. You have to choose your battles, and you have to learn how to analyze these things. And getting a cheap little microscope, it's a handheld microscope, I'll put a link down below. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Walmart, you can get them just about anywhere, is a great diagnostic tool. And it allows you to see exactly what you're working with. And if it's one of the Wi-Fi models, you can actually show your customer as well. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas, please leave them below. I'm always happy to answer. And always looking for suggestions for other capsules.